Alright, time to finish this in the clock tower.
Welcome, my children, to the end of Mirror of Fate. Do not look in a reflection or you will see your impending doom.
I'm not your son.
Alright, let me read quickly the... Many brothers have left the way of light after tasting the sweet flavor of shadows. The impious fire that emanates from inside his medallion grants enormous power to increase the damage caused in exchange for their magic meter.
AKA, it sets you on fire.
Again, it's nice that the panels, Gabriel's light and shadow magic medallions from the first game.
So you get to become the Human Torch.
I guess.
How sad is it that the best looking Human Torch that we've gotten is still probably the Roger Corman version?
No, it's from the Suicide Squad.
Anyway,
sure.
So, have we actually found the sales figure between Birth by Sleep and the DS games?
Yes, to answer from the previous part, everybody, yes, apparently there's nearly equal sales between both Days and Birth by Sleep, and there doesn't seem to be any sales figures for Recoded that I can find. Most likely because it was just the core fan base behind those games, which is why the sales are so similar.
Also, sorry for the jump cut, but again, this clock tower is mostly just focused on puzzle solving. We're gonna have an encounter like at the top of it, a bit of it, but it's mostly just about trying to avoid this puzzle, particularly steam and electricity. So I need to jump cut like 1 or 2 times for convenience sake, because
that's fine.
You can lose your health very easy. Also, how did I got there? I'm glad I don't even.
You apparently unintentionally used
gravitated towards it. Well, it's a Konami game, so it does remind me a bit of some of the Frogger later games, and Nitro mentioned that in his reviews about them, that some jumps get gravitated towards it.
Sorry, I thought that thing that you passed was going to flatten you if you stayed under there too long.
Thankfully, no, they don't like smash into a pancake. Instead, is again moving platforms where they activated through the mechanism, and you have to avoid. It's a classic type of puzzle on platforms where you need to decide, where to actually dangle from it in order to avoid an obstacle, and where you're actually supposed to stand on to avoid said obstacle.
I've played enough platformers to know that something that looks like that could be something that could turn you into a pancake if you're not careful or fast enough.
Dwibbs, it's funny, the way you worded it, saying the thing, your past, it can crush you. It sounded like you were saying your past can crush you.
Well, I mean, that's true as well.
Oh my!
Isn't that? Damn it! What's that platformer with time travel mechanics?
You have to be specific. Then a lot of them.
Braid, you mean the one that Nitro Rad reviewed? I can't remember the name of it.
I don't remember.
No, I was going for either Braid or Prince of Persia about your past.
I don't remember if Nitro Rad reviewed Braid, actually. It might have been, but it might have been one of his earliest reviews, because I actually do not remember that.
I thought you said Raid is in Raid Shadow Legends.
No, with a B in front of it, Waves. It's an indie game, 2D, actually. Then it's about someone who can actually manipulate time, and it's infamous for being slightly pretentious in Steam, which is something. It's something that is also carried over to to the next game that the developer did, the Witness. I mentioned a couple of times.
Raid Shadow Legends is also kind of an indie game. It's not published by any major developer.
I refuse to believe that, considering how many YouTubers get paid to sponsor that game.
Maybe it was like that at the beginning, that it was started small, but trying to capitalize on the sponsorship kind of deal.
From what I understand,
what's the Squirms Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship?
That's a good question.
It will probably come by the time my memory starts to improve.
Let's get Shiroi to sponsor Dollar Shake Club instead.
That's a good idea. Shiroi could be a good spokesperson.
Yeah, it is something actually. While this gameplay bit's going on, or is there a scroll bit coming up?
We're gonna get it in a second, but go on, Dibs.
After the scroll bit, we'll decide what game we should sponsor. Anyway, inside the adjoining room, I found 2 magic seals of engraved messages. Left doesn't matter when you ask, always shelter from the light. Right doesn't matter which magic you offer, we'll always unfold a path.
Very basic kind of hints.
So we've already established what Shiori's one would be. I'd probably sponsor. I might need a bit of outside help here. What would you guys think?
A
Fate Grand
VPN.
Order.
Sorry, Java?
Fate Grand Order.
Yes. Whenever I get past episode 1 of the first anime.
Read the visual novel.
But yeah, I don't like reading visual novels.
But you
don't like
Ace
reading?
Attorney.
Those visual novels.
Jokes aside, Danger, I can understand it because the visual novels can be very intimidating for how much content do they actually have. So I don't blame internet front.
Yeah.
Anyway,
not to mention the rarity of when they get released in the West.
new gadget time. As mentioned, the toy maker loves to have imitations of the relics of the Brotherhood of Light, and as such, we have something that parallels Cornell's magic boots, meaning that we have something akin to what Gabriel could do in the previous game with the speed jump for long jumps.
For a second there, I thought part of the outfit would have been you have to wear faces on your thighs.
Okay, there are some designs in some, not necessarily just these games, but there are some designs in some games where you have boots that are, ornate enough to resemble a face as well. Then there's stuff like Oboro Bishamon, who is a particular stereotype of a yokai, which has, the chest plate of the armor resembling, a face, like a demonic face.
Those.
Okay, so Tio, you mentioned the toy maker. When do we run into Superman again?
Not that toy maker did.
Also, isn't that the Tinker instead?
No, I think he's called the toy maker.
God, there are so many super villains between Marvel and DC that have the same abilities.
Let me check.
The Tinkerer, that's a Spider-Man villain.
Right, that's the Marvel
There's a
one.
Sonic villain.
No, that's Mr. Tinker. That was Eggman.
Wasn't that like in the IDW comics the moment where Eggman actually was like in a good phase or something?
Yeah, because he lost his memories.
The events of Sonic Force.
I think Pedro would be a very good sponsor for that new Ni no Kuni iOS game.
Crossroads?
Yeah.
Is that a gacha game?
Yes, it is.
It's a Genshin Impact style.
Apparently, Jova, while we didn't mention the number of downloads, it seems that it's actually gaining a lot of money. So apparently,
They did mention the number of downloads, actually.
Oh, they did?
According to the statistics, it reached 100 million downloads before, even faster than Pokemon Go and Genshin Impact, apparently.
Also, I'd like to...
Oh, sorry, go on to the edge.
I'd like to take this time to apologize to Tio right now. His name is actually Toy Man.
Okay. But that's kind of fascinating. Even Near Incarnation recently boasted the fact that at launch it had actually like 10 million downloads, but like 100 in its first period, 100 million.
If it helps you too, it reached number 2 in the most downloaded mobile games in Japan.
I think the first one is still either Genshin Impact or Fate Go.
No, it was actually a different one because I saw the numbers. And it was number 1 in South Korea.
Again, it's
my guess is
but that's good.
Yeah.
Not just
No,
that,
well,
Shiro,
it's most likely running off Genshin Impact Mania, probably.
Yeah, that too. But it's interesting how level 5, like kind of like 2 times in a row, manages to kind of get away with having a title that not many people think is gonna be super successful, instead being like it.
Well, remember too, like Yokai Watch's success back in 2014 didn't come from the games; it come from the anime. It was the anime that made the games a success later. So,
how was that Pokemon Go like Yokai Watch game?
Well, actually, it wasn't a Pokemon Go style game. It was actually a puzzle mobile game, actually.
As for Shiroi, I'd have to go for a hypothetical example, since this one doesn't exist.
Wasn't Shiroi literally the first one you actually came up with who she was?
I did, but it was mostly joking for juxtaposition.
As for my own suggestion, if Undertale ever got a gacha game, she'd probably do that one.
Yeah,
About the Xbox version of Undertale.
Yes. Two
What
things.
happens?
Wait.
Does that version have exclusive content?
Let Shiro explain. I want to hear this.
No, it's just an in-game thing. It's not like microtransactions or anything. It's more like kind of a joke about them.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Well.
It's two things.
Oh, hold on. What's going on here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
Taro.
you pieces of shit.
Oh,
What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you? Oh, come on!
We literally sabotaged the entire castle just to get rid of Trevor. And I mean, this seems to be an effective way. And yes, this chase sequence can actually catch you off guard if you don't know what to do, because you have to be on your toes, for the entire time. But it's still doable, relatively compared to. I've seen worse type of chase sequences.
Oh my god, you're being chased and with gears and like it's you could possibly die at any moment. This is a Super Meat Boy reference.
Not an assault.
Yeah. Okay. So the thing is falling apart now. It seems.
Well, it's just the bell. We just need to get away from it, from the
You
actual
really
bell
sabotaged your own castle for this.
Don't worry, Captain. We'll buff out those scratches.
The Fleamans are that kind of idiot, Shiro. It's still riding on that like minions logic.
Yeah, and besides Shiro, there have been plenty of villains who will sacrifice even something that they really, really love to ensure that the hero dies.
Yeah, even in some cases you even have to wait until the bell is very close to you, because otherwise you cannot actually pass over. So that.
Cutscene.
Oof! Barely made it.
Barely made it.
Oh no.
Oh, that's the end of his story.
Thankfully, no. We're still alive.
Wake up.
What? Are you gonna say I told you so?
I told you so.
You see, it was your fate to be completely.
It literally just drops us the MacGuffin when we needed.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you see?
The MacGuffin, you're so bloody useless at getting it. I had to get it for you.
Mirror of Fate, Shiroi, aka Protector of the Plot.
You should have just dropped the artifact, like, just out of reach of his arm.
Won't be a huge dick to him.
Yes.
Shiroi, are you... Actually, no, we've already established you and I are the same person. That is something that we would write.
but no, like again, it's more closely reinforced by the fact that the spirit is all about, you cannot fight fate. The ability maker to give the war messengers create greater speed for movement perfectly combines complicated engineering with the purity of its magic components. Always required to step forward twice to activate the propulsion mechanism. Again, much like in the original game.
I'd probably go one step further and just hold it out to him for him to grab, only to toss it over my shoulder going, "Strike!"
Also, side note, the sound effect given to when Trevor actually activates the boots, instead of, just being simple boot step, they sound like the Godzilla one, the one that's used, for people who create like vines or short videos about, fat cats that are moving.
The one that sounds like,
oh my god,
like that. Like that.
Follow the coming.
Speaking of cats, I actually learned something interesting today.
Oh?
Yes, sir.
So, American Tail 2, 5 Goes West? I just learned today that has a sequel TV series.
Oh, yeah, you didn't know? Yeah, not a lot of people know that, Shiro.
Oh, and who?
Hello.
Let's just say it's not very good.
For the record, if you get spotted, you actually have to fight a couple of these enemies. So if you play stealth, you can actually avoid this encounter.
Yeah.
You're probably...
But I do remember other two direct-to-video, I think, sequels, like of Fievel. Like one is about like a sewer and another about a treasure, I think.
Wait. Something about those direct-to-video sequels. I love how they had the goal to throw shade at American Tail 2, trying to retcon it as supposedly some fever dream Fievel had, only for them to be much, much worse movies.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
that's always the danger. When you try and pull the take that scrappy to an entire movie, if you end up doing just as worse. If you end up doing just as worse than the thing that you're pulling that trope in, it's just going to make you come off as really, really idiotic.
Mm-hmm. Which it did. Yes, Pedro?
Yeah, no, actually, Deju wanted to say something.
Alright, so I'm gonna throw a weird take about these Disney direct-to-DVD sequels. They're not really as bad as people make them out to be. Like,
Depends on which ones you're talking about. Mulan 2...
Cinderella Furry.
Also, Deju.
Well, yeah.
It wasn't Disney.
Well, yeah, Dej, if you cherry pick the better ones, definitely, but what about Mulan 2? Fox and the Hound 2? Well, yeah, that too, but what about Mulan 2 and Fox and the Hound 2? That was
I've never seen those.
Well,
okay.
Sorry,
Wait, yes, you?
No, go on, I'll mention later.
To play devil's advocate for Deji, I get what he means, though. Like, well, when people talk about the direct-to-video sequel age of Disney, they often chalk it up to being, oh, it was all bad, I'm glad it's over. I would argue that there was enough good there to warrant at least giving it a try, just, again, give more minds to quality here and there.
I also found Cinderella 2 to be fine as well.
Not so much Cinderella 2, but I do love me Cinderella 3.
Yeah, 3 is the best one, but like 2 is just like, it's basically an epilogue to see where everyone...
I'll argue Bambi 2 is the best one, personally.
Okay. To go off, two things. Yes, I like Bambi 2 as well, Pedro. Not as much as Bambi 1.
Is it because of Sir Patrick Stewart?
Except for a couple of the songs, but yeah, I enjoy Bambi 2 as well. As for Cinderella 2, it just seems to be that they learned absolutely nothing from the Beauty and the Beast direct-to-video sequel. They tried to make that. They tried to basically build a film of what was a rejected TV show, and arguably it was even worse because the stories were even lamer.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And that's not all, Dave. So they didn't even learn from that either because other products did the same thing. Also, yeah, no, don't worry. It's just about Trevor opening the door quickly before instead the next thing happened, which instead is a bit more important, Jova. Thing that I forgot actually, who owns An American Tale?
Universal.
Not Disney, which is why I found it weird that Ted suddenly brought up this.
There we go.
Because we were talking about direct.
Now we get to see why the Dejimon actually got released. Apparently, these fanatics actually got a hold of a Pokeball that Gabriel did use at the beginning of the game, and now we're actually doing a ritual to actually release it.
They're trying to summon Garatina. Stop them! Oh, it's just some.
Now I know what you're thinking. Oh, so we now actually have a boss fight against him? No, it's just a series of QTEs. Yeah, I know, right? This kind of enemy that has been kind of built as this arch nemesis of Trevor, unwittingly, kind of like Beowulf in Devil May Cry 3. And for its final appearance, which is the one that cements his rivalry with Trevor, it gets taken out with a series of QTEs. Again, it reinforces what I thought about this part of Trevor being kind of rushed.
Yeah.
Again, the stuff with Trevor, the only thing that feels final about it is the difficulty. Otherwise, in a lot of ways, this feels like, well, a prologue to the other ones. It doesn't have as much action to it. It doesn't have as many boss fights to it.
Notice also that it's the only one that this contains these particular sequences where you see from behind. Like again, they wanted to try to showcase the capabilities of Nintendo 3DS. Or
it's not a numbered game either. I mean, typically games that aren't numbered aren't really going to be like the normal ones.
This is always a problem with companies. Oh, sorry. Did you want to say something, Shuri?
Like, only briefly. It's just that it feels like what they were going for here was more of a spectacle than an actual, fight. But yeah, go on, Joba.
I do get the feeling that, again, maybe this should have been... ironically, maybe if this had been a numbered sequel, they would have given more mind to it. Like, it seems to be a psychological thing, like, not just with fans, but devs themselves and how they regard sequels that aren't numbered when they make a big point of it.
Grow back, you jerk.
Not just that, remember, this is basically how we got the prosthetic limbs from the toy maker, because Trevor literally maimed him to death. Both first the actual arms, and thanks to this, also the lower part of the body.
Oh, there goes your
M rating.
Did this game get an M rating?
Yes. We did mention this a couple of parts ago.
Yeah, actually, to be honest, Yuri, I think the only Castlevania game that wouldn't get an M rating is if it were an educational one.
Enjoy the only appearance in this game of a toy maker. That's basically the only thing that you get. Again, Lords of Shadow 2 will thankfully expand more on him.
Wait a minute, he doesn't look like Sylvester Stallone at all.
It's like Danny DeVito.
But,
now you're basically good to go. Not even kidding. You're basically kind of close to your destination. You don't have any more padding scenes like in with Alucard. You're literally just close to the throne room, and you're good to go with finishing the game.
There's a reason for that, Tio, because the beast literally ended up taking us close to Dracula because he wanted to kill Dracula himself. Which, you know, means we could have teamed up with him if he just saw reason, but no, because we have the blood of Gabriel.
Again, it's literally like that scene in Devil May Cry 3 when Beowulf reaches, Virgil after his fight with Dante.
Yeah.
Anyway, did you want to say something, Shirai?
I think Pedro wanted to say something first.
Well, yeah, you can go first if it's short, if you don't... Because I probably have a longer thing to say if you.
It was very short. So, Dwibs, what you're saying is we need Simon's schoolhouse.
Yeah. Let's do that because I'll be not doing much of anything else anyway.
Also,
it can't be worse than Metal Gear Survive.
You hacks, Dracula's throne room is reached from the right to the left, not the opposite. And there's the mirror in the background.
You know, wouldn't it be funny if Dracula just wasn't home for once in these?
Yeah, he just leaves a note on his phone saying out to lunch.
Hey, Gabriel.
I told you not to call me that.
It was unnecessary to send.
Okay, how about this count?
That's
I
better.
say that because
I can do what I want.
Off his weapons in your hand. In their desperation, it seems the Brotherhood have deceived you. Yet I would know the name of the warrior who wields such a weapon.
Oh, there's some sportivity.
Your very existence brings shame upon me.
Oh, the irony.
Just tell him your name, and this would prevent so much.
Feel the envy of irony bashing on your back.
Because, okay, look.
So it's personal then.
Just, again, Trevor, just tell him your name. If you want to make it personal, tell him your name.
But he actually doesn't know.
My closest companion.
Yeah, again, if you told him who you are, well, I mean, I assure you that would have prevented a lot of tragedy to come.
I have no interest in getting to know my victims. I don't know you.
Oh,
The irony.
Again, and look, it's not helped by the fact that we pretty much have solved the mystery at this point.
So yeah, now we're getting our final boss actually of the game, and the final one of Act 3, and it's another tease in how Gabriel actually will play in Lords of Shadow 2, because it starts with a peculiar weapon, the Void Sword, an effective replacement of a live magic. Ow.
Alright.
It's mostly used to gain health and recover magic. Go on, Pedro.
Okay, it's three things. One, fun fact. Ni no Kuni Cross Worlds has dual audio. There is an English dub already in it, so which is kind of the unofficial confirmation that it's coming to the West as well. Which, and considering its humongous success so far, yeah, that it's bound to come anyway at this point. Now answering Deji. Okay, Deji, you know those mobile puzzle games? Hold on, this is the... Okay.
No, just mention that he shifted to the other weapon, the Chaos Claws, but that's all you need to know. Again, I can explain more when you actually get to Lords of Shadow 2.
Sure. Okay, Deji, you know those various freemium puzzle games on mobile where they're kind of a Puyo Puyo style of affair where you're mixing orbs of same color to clear the board and all that, those kinds of typical puzzle games you find on mobile platforms, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what Yokai Watch Mobi is. Basically, it's a puzzle. It's literally a mobile puzzle game with Yokai Watch characters. Basically, that's basically it. It's not a Pokemon Go style of affair. To answer Teo, that's the thing too. It boils down to this. Again, this is my basic theory. Again, it's two things for the success of something like what happens with what you were saying earlier about level 5 getting success from unexpected things and stuff like that. The truth of the matter, too, is that for as much as we would love for something like Ni no Kuni 2 or Rogue Galaxy to be the hot ticket, it will never be, sadly.
That I understand. I'm just interested by how no one, not just us, no one would expect something like that to, be so too successful, and instead it actually happens. This is what makes me also even more curious about Megaton Musashi, which by the time we're recording this, we got news today that it's launching actually very soon in Japan.
It's gonna. Let me just finish though. But that being said, as for the explanation, my theory has always been that first of all, there's one particular thing that becomes popular for what. Okay, in the case of the Watch anime, I don't really have a specific theory that I can give you. However, the theory for Ni no Kuni Crossroads is, like I said to Shira earlier, Genshin Impact Mania, combined with the fact that the game is apparently, according to Asian players, really good. Word of mouth helped the game really reach that kind of fast downloads. I'm done. Go on.
Back to my thing about that. Yeah, 5.0 Goes West actually got a TV sequel series. The reason people are figuring out more about this is because after 2 decades of being in legal limbo,
this is a
Universal have officially recruited it's on Peacock. That is how most people are figuring out about it.
Okay.
All right, time to finish off Dracula, actually.
And hey, Peacock's actually
finish him off.
But hey,
What are you
Peacock's
talking
actually launching
about,
here in
Dez?
Britain
This is
soon,
totally the end.
And hey, Peacock's actually launching here in Britain soon, so we'll get the chance to see it.
There are way too many streaming.
And the only reason why I have access to HBO Max is because.
So yeah, final section, you need to literally free fall onto Dracula. What the fuck is going on?
Dracula,
it's the Egg Dragoon from Sonic Generations.
Hashtag steal a Castlevania game.
It's the final hit from Splatoon 2's final boss.
Oh my god.
Exactly. You know that thing where you can, turn into bats that fly? Why don't you just do that?
No, it makes more, impact with that.
The exploded.
Well, let's see.
Have you done it?
How much it costed.
All my picker ads.
What?
Dang, I cannot even see what they look like.
I'll never know.
They look like whatever you want them to look like.
Doesn't it?
They look like rats.
So yeah, and there you go. That's your ultimate truth. The spirit is an actual, reflection from the mirror of fate. Good to know, I guess. That's why it was all about that fatalism, because, we already knew. And we'll never actually see him again. We'll not see him in Lords of Shadow 2.
Yeah, about that. Falling from that high distance is
actually,
not a
no,
good
it's
idea.
because Dracula actually grabbed the combat cross and used it against Trevor. What a poor, sad excuse.
Off screen.
I understand now.
Oh, boy.
I understand everything.
I don't.
Fought against my fate, even though it was in vain.
Oh my god. By the way, the whole Mirror of Fate thing never really becomes a thing again in Lords of Shadow 2.
Actually, it does. The Mirror of Fate is present, but like eventually it does whatever the fuck the fuck wants.
Hold on, Tio. Hold on, let me finish. Yes, like I said, it technically comes back, but the whole it predicts fate and everything, that's not really a factor in Lords of Shadow 2, which you think it would be given how heavy it was.
I'll get you back on that when we get to that particular bit in the game where it does.
Well, it's pretty much just like what you said, Tio. Mirror of Fate does what the writers
And now it's time for Gabriel to have a truth check.
What is this?
Apparently, despite checking the Mirror of Fate all these years, it never did showing the truth until now.
What a time, eh?
Damn you!
Turns out Marie had one last present to give you,
Bless Robert
Gabriel.
Carlyle, even for these kind of budget
I
games.
killed my own son! Son of a...
And that's why Trevor becomes Alucard, because Gabriel injected literally his blood into him.
So basically, this in turn pissed Gabriel off so much that now he decides that he's going to attack the Brotherhood on him.
Which creates a chain reaction, which leads to Simon, rating him. That's a circle of life, I guess.
Basically, here's the thing. Dracula wasn't really going out of their way to attack them so much. It was just the Brotherhood saying, well, crap, Gabriel's gone mad. However, they found out
and
about
there you go. The room where we actually fought, Gabriel converts him into Alucard's tomb and moves his throne room in the one that we have seen at the end of chapter 2.
And he named it Alucard for some reason.
Because it's clever. And yeah, that's kind of the end of the game. So the credits are mildly long, so I'll still ask you for thoughts, but there is a post-credit scene and a small surprise that I left, for us. So, Dweebs, please tell us what you think of this whole mess.
Okay, putting aside, again, these games can't seem to end very well. Whether it be the weird Kojima-esque ending of the first game, or just the off-screen baffledness of this one. Like, seriously, it looked like he stabbed Dracula, but no, it turned out it was the other way around.
Stop stabbing yourself, Trevor.
We just didn't show it because
dramatic effect.
Yeah, I don't think even it was rushed as a valid excuse. I think it was just surprise, and that was it. Okay, but putting that aside, the game itself is fine. Again, I'm not into Metroidvanias, but this one looks okay enough. It's just most of the story was actually decent. I mean, I think it said some stuff okay for the next one, along with the loose ends from the first game. We'll just have to see how they wrap up. But seriously though, that ending, I mean, seriously, you really couldn't have just shown a little bit of Dracula just turning the sword a little bit? I mean, hell, Last Jedi did that.
Oh God, can we not?
I mean, it kind of spoiled it a bit, but at least it showed it. Here's my thing. Visual mediums, in my
for
opinion,
this particular example, I can understand where Dibs is coming from.
Yeah, I get it too.
Anyway, as I was going to say, visual mediums, unless you're really, really good at it, pulling something off screen like that is just really lazy. I mean, if you keep doing that, you might as well make it a radio play.
I will get the idea that it's mostly used for shock value. Like, oh, Trevor has finally won, but in the end it's not. It just comes across goofy a bit, though, the way it's presented. I will give you that.
Theo, if I can also bring up a counterpoint, we already knew Trevor was going to be dead because of the fact that we've been playing as him as a vampire all this time, and the fact that Dracula was alive in chapters 1 and 2. I mean, that's like taking extra steps on something that is futile to begin with. Oh, this game.
So, which of the 3 acts do you prefer, Dweebs?
The first one.
Simon's? Nice.
Yeah, because it's the simplest.
I get it.
I'm not that I'm against more complicated things, but again, it all depends on how well you do. And that's not to say that simple things can't be fucked up.
It's just in Wonderworld.
It's just how it's shown and how it was executed. I think was the most well done out of everything in this game.
Absolutely.
But yeah, but overall, it was fine.
All right, hold on. We're about to get in less than a minute to the post-credit scene, so I reserve the rest of the final thoughts afterward. So let me just talk briefly about something that I didn't mention, actually, since, the HD version actually did provide achievements and a trophy list for the PS3 and the Xbox 360 and Steam versions. They're not much. There's no platinum. They are very scarce, and they're relatively easy to actually obtain. So it was pretty much clear that the budget invested even on that aspect wasn't that much. For those who don't know, a game company has to invest a specific amount of money which at that point Sony or Microsoft given out points to invest in an actual list of trophies, deciding, like, for example, their value, either points or bronze, gold, or silver. And it's clear that it wasn't that much. Anyway, post-credit scene. It's about to find after the event of the Act 2.
So, Alucard, what are you going to do now?
Alucard decides to take the combat cross. Actually, take some
no, the castle's crumbling.
After Dracula, it's true tradition. After Dracula's defeat, the castle crumbles.
Kind of makes you wonder why the castle never crumbled when Carmilla died.
And we end with the classic Castlevania imagery. Simon standing on a cliff. Farewell. Oh, thank you, Simon, for that line. And the castle crumbling in the background. That is an actual nice touch.
Again, though,
so join us next time for Vania.
Well, like I said, I wanted to reserve a special something.
Did you make that text?
Yes, I wanted to include one of the trailers of the second game because it includes a special narration that's not in the final game.
Of my life flow
it's actually one of the better paced ones.
Never stopping. After centuries of sleep, of nothingness, I have returned.
My alarm clock finally went off.
Jesus Christ.
How I got here.
The years have not been kind.
Are you alright, mate?
Something comes back to me.
My looks.
I was great once. Feared. Yes. No, I remember.
I'm Sephiroth's father.
No. Must find blood.
Hojo?
Nah.
Once I was strong.
His other father.
Beyond measure, beyond imagining.
I could totally see Dracula being the father of Sephiroth.
But I will return. I will live again.
Yeah. Given how the story actually goes, that's
I mean,
they will pay. Even if
still with the douche place.
They will pay. For I am the dragon, Dracula. I am the Prince of Darkness. That is my vengeance.
Honest to God, one of the best trailers that I've seen in recent years.
I think my only issue is that when you actually see the story of Lords of Shadow 2...
to fear me.
Honestly, no, actually, no, Joe. I honestly think it lives up to this.
Well, that's the thing, though, Tio. When we actually know what Dracula's actual ploy is to do, well, okay, the initial ploy that he has going on in that one.
Well, it's not joking. He's gonna have his vengeance and everything. So.
Well, again, to clarify more would be spoiling. I'll just mention when we get to it.
Well, yeah, we'll see in due time. For the time being, Shiroi, tell us what you think.
Well, this was fine to start and a little confusing. And the ending, I mean, yeah, we could have seen that because it was already happening. There was no reason to, cut away from that, But
weren't you amazed by the twist?
No, not really. I'm not really surprised by it, to be honest. But, yeah, this is fine. Gameplay-wise, it seems fine. I'm not sure how it's going to affect the sequel, if at all, from what you guys have been hinting at.
Well, again, you will be able to see again. I'll ask this question again when we actually start Lord of Shadow 2, because the first part of making sure it literally ends with the beginning narration that sums up the event of the first game, not the DLC, and this particular game. So I'll be able to ask what if you think it's a good summation or you effectively needed to see this game.
All right, sure. But aside from that, that's really it. I don't really remember a lot of the music. I quite like the way the cutscenes look. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's about it. So,
is there an act you prefer over others?
The first one for the same reasons as Dwips.
Okay. Deji.
Okay, well, At the time of this recording, I found out that in Japan, Metroidvanias are known as search action games.
I mean, it's not technically wrong as a
yeah. It's like that's what they're called. It's like, oh, there's your trivia for today.
The more literal description of what they are.
Yes, but this game looks fine. It's different from what I expect out of like the more traditional or the Igavania stuff, but it's not trying to imitate those. It's just being its own thing, and from what I'm seeing, it does work. So I do want to try this out eventually later down the line.
I recommend checking out the entire trilogy, honestly.
Yeah.
Is there an act you prefer over the others, Edge?
Simon's, because it was the most straightforward. I kind of wish that they were like to not come off as an echo chamber. They probably should have started with Trevor first, then gone Simon, then go to Alucard.
Heck, if anything, that would have been all the more cool and thematic, like starting with Trevor and technically ending with Trevor.
I wonder if my theory about the way they paced it for the sake of, with added gameplay for the sake of respective deadline that they got is actually true or not. But again, it's only speculation, honestly. You're done, Dej?
Yep.
Pedro?
It looks fine. The gameplay seems pretty enjoyable to me. So yeah, definitely find that. The story, it's fine. The ending is just that it kind of drops the ball a bit. But aside from that, the story seems fine. So no big issue. Again, it seems like a very a pretty solid game, all around in general. So not much to say. Like it feels like it does basically enough to be a solid game. It's nothing amazing, but at the same time, it's still a very competently made game. So no biggie. I still prefer the first game because I found the first game was more creative and overall just like its grandeur scale and its overall more brash and over the top nature made it a lot more fun. But this is still fine too. This one feels a lot more like a classic Castlevania game by comparison, which is fine by me.
Is there an act you prefer over the others?
I guess Simon definitely, because I feel like it's the one that at the very least doesn't feel somewhat, because the whole final travel part of the game feels a bit like, again, the overall yeah, if there's one thing I guess I will complain is that, yeah, I feel like they should have had different orders for how you play for this game, because playing Trevor after you play Alucard makes little to no sense. So because it ruins the whoever might be surprised. Aside from that, no, I feel like Simon's is the one that doesn't suffer from any kind of pacing issues. So I guess that.
All right, Jova.
It's a fine and good game. That said, like me and Tio have been mentioning, this is out of the Free Lords of Shadow games, it's not the best or worst, but it is definitely the most confusing of them. That said, I would definitely recommend playing this before getting to Lords of Shadow 2, because while Lords of Shadow 2 does technically have that kind of recap thing, it's not done that well, I'd say. Regardless, though, the story here is fine, fair, and fun, and it's nice to get to see some classic Belmont action. That being said, I still want to know whose idea it was to plot and pace the game like this, to the sense where it's essentially moving backwards for the majority of stuff. And I'm not going to say it gets worse, but kind of gets weaker with each one, sadly, because, well, again, ironically, Simon's plot, despite it being the most simple one, feels like the culmination of this all. You know, because it kind of is. And I feel it probably would have rung better if we just did it chronologically. That being said, the level design seems fine. Maybe a little too cubic, even by Castlevania standards, but again, fair beans and all whatnot. They do have the playable characters be somewhat similar, but I'd say different enough. Again, I find it a missed potential that they don't ever have you playing as Dracula, well, while he's Dracula in this game. Because, come on, man. Being Dracula in charge of stuff, that would be so cool. And again, one of the shortcomings with the story is like, well, again, consider this something like to bridge the gap between 1 and 2. Even though this does explain a lot of stuff that will be vital for Lords of Shadow 2, I wish it had done more. I wish we could have seen how Dracula came to form this castle, how the castle became tied to him. Because again, may I remind you, when Carmilla died, the castle didn't crumble. Well, when Dracula supposedly dies, the castle does crumble here and there. It would have been nice also to establish how he met some of his minions, like the toy maker or the succubus and whatnot. Again, something to show how it came to be. And like, well, the game's short as it is, that I have a hard time believing that they couldn't have tried to fit it, unless this was purely just a side project made to give people something else to do while Lords of Shadow 2 was being worked on.
Again, remember, during like the second half of Lords of Shadow 2, Mercury's team did mention in interviews that they knew for sure at that point that it was the last of the timeline. There wouldn't be any more games after that. But again, something tells me that they wanted to plan it for more longer run, but because Konami was starting to entering its weird, bizarre phase, they decided to gambite the project, the second number title.
I do feel like part of this may be on Mercury's teams themselves. Like, okay, let me look at this. I feel like maybe they kind of overshot their load, giving us that future look into the modern setting. Now, don't get me wrong. Having it eventually get to that point would be fine, but having it do that already with the first game may or may not have consigned them to that at that point. Like, again, it
feels like a climax, not the next chapter.
Pretty much, yeah. I do wonder if maybe this would have been better to say for, like, say, I don't know, a hidden cutscene in Mirror of Fate, if they absolutely knew it was going to be the end. Because, okay, whether or not Lords of Shadow 2 had been mandated to be the end, it already felt like that with that ending cutscene in 1. Don't get me wrong, it's a cool and interesting thing to see Castlevania in the modern setting here and there. But again, imagine if Castlevania 1 had Simon beat Dracula, only to then zoom all the way to modern times. That would be skipping, like, so many games in the franchise. But regardless, this game itself, it's fine, it's fun. The bosses are varied here and there. Like, the best aspect of it is definitely the gameplay. Like I said, the story isn't bad, but it can be baffling at times. Not to the point where it's incomprehensible, but just points where you have to ask, why? In the most confused way possible. And yeah, that whole off-screen killing of Trevor thing was just... Yeah, sorry, look, you practically stripped naked and revealed all your clues with the game text here in their game. There's no point in trying to make it like some big revelation that Trevor dies and becomes Alucard, seeing as how everything else
there is some minor merit in what Trevor discovers at the end. Remember, the beginning is all about, no, I don't want to listen to the spirit of a Mirror of Fate and still believe that I'm in control of my destiny, when at the end, instead, he realizes that, no, he was never in control, just like the spirit told him.
What of it?
I guess there is some merit in that. It's just that the actual execution of the scene of him dying and everything, it's way too goofy for something.
But yeah, it's a fine game. And yes, my favorite chapter was Simon. Simon arguably is the character who's the most straightforward about this. Like, that's the thing. It's not just his plot, but Simon as a character is pretty much the one who gets down to business the best out of, well, I guess we can technically call them free characters because, yeah, seriously, at some point they try... I look back and Teal's right. At some point, they did try to claim that Alucard and Trevor are two different people, even though, no, in this continuity, they're the same people.
I didn't even have to, like, standard PR response 101. Wait until the game is out and see for yourself. Like, that in itself is not really a confirmation or denial,
And let's be fair, Mercury probably have themselves more to blame, because when you compare Alucard's look to Trevor's look, they look so similar anyway. Like, I don't know, maybe you could have changed up Alucard's design to look more different. Whoa.
Yeah, that's true. Its costume just looks on a like lighter shade of green than Trevor's.
It's literally Trevor's, just now you can see his chest.
Again.
Because for some reason, vampires in the Lords of Shadow timeline really love to expose their bosoms to you.
Twilight was very popular at the time, please understand.
I'd like to imagine that Twilight did not influence something as awesome as Castlevania.
I don't want to understand.
That's because you forgot that we buried the Twilight for good last year's Halloween. I'm trying to forget it.
You cannot escape from the past.
I will go back and murder the past.
with a shovel.
Yes.
Maybe Caius was right all along.
I'm glad I've never seen a movie.
All right. You're done with that?
Yeah. Calls us out to you.
Sure. Well, it's not much to say on my own. I really enjoyed this game. I didn't have to pay much for it, so it is enjoyable. But it's undeniable that it has confusing kind of flaws. Not ones that, make me distaste the game, but it just feels fucking odd the way they present it. Again, the story out of order, some badly kept secrets, we mentioned, about Alucard and Trevor also looking the same. Again, also the voice acting. Like I said, the next game will play more with the expectation of having another character voiced by Richard Madden, but he's still not Alucard technically. So there will be that, but this one doesn't even really try to hide it. If you want to build a mystery, commit to it, for it. But overall, I still enjoyed the experience. Even the stuff that they didn't show, again, the backtracking and getting all the gizmos and stuff. My favorite chapter is instead, surprising enough, the one about Alucard. It's the one that's more satisfying gameplay to me. You get more of the nifty tools, it's a good equilibrium, and it's technically the conclusion of the story. So you get even your boss fight against Dracula. Simon is a good start, but it doesn't give you much. And it ends with a fight against the succubus, which is fine, but it's not as satisfying as playing as Simon fighting Dracula himself. Speaking of which, the voice acting, it's actually great, even the new ones that they got for the roles, so that's pretty neat. The music is a step down technically compared to the first game, but I can understand considering it was done for a budgeted title on a different kind of smaller capacity console. So I'm willing to give Oscar some slack, and I rest assured that for the next game, the composition is once again one of the strong points, so I'll be able to see. But that's pretty much it from me. It's still nice that Konami actually, release it, an HD version. And again, stick to the PC version. If you're curious about it, it doesn't cost much, and it gets on sale frequently. So if you have a good enough PC, it's perfectly fine for you using that. But as for us, we will see you eventually next time for when Dracula actually awakens from his long sleep and has to confront the new demons and his own in the far future of the actual town of Castlevania City. Yes, really, they went through a tech and live-action movie school of naming your towns. In Castlevania, Lords of Shadow 2. See ya.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See ya.